Okay. Testing out some new equipment tonight, and as a result, I'm going to do a little bit of a short video here to show the progress on this painting for everyone. I've got my color scheme for this. We're going to be doing this one in the top right here. And if you notice, right now I've applied the gouache underpainting to it, picked it out. It acts pretty much like an oil pick out. I'll have to do another demo showing that process at a later date, but I just had to I had a motor on this painting and actually try and get it forward. Tonight I'm going to start laying in some of the colors. Now what you're seeing here is I've masked out some spots on here that I don't want to get hit with the airbrush, and I'm going to hit it with an airbrush first. And what this is it's not a fancy frisket or anything like that. All it is a piece of tracing paper. I had some spray adhesive applied to it, and then once the spray adhesive was dry, I basically tacked off the how sticky it was by just sticking it to the back of the tracing paper pad and unsticking it a couple times and doing that before I applied it onto here. Probably should have done it like one or two more times because I think it's still a little stickier than I would have liked, but that just means that it holds pretty well. The main thing though is I kind of want to get the airbrush colors on here so I can take this off, because I really don't like to leave it there for multiple days, and I've already kind of left it overnight. So I'm shaking up some black airbrush color. And this is normally something I do before I would do something like the pick out or anything like that. The reason for that is as you start to apply color on top of black and the pencil and all that, it grays everything out, which it kind of pushes everything to the middle, so you have to fight to keep the extremes going. Basically keeps me from going too dark. So I'm just testing it off screen right now. And then okay, there we go. Just had to adjust the air pressure on it. So I'm just applying a little bit of black here before I apply my first pass of color on this. This whole painting process is, I tend to work very transparently. I've never had any success working opaque. So the way I've not really learned, but the way I've kind of sorted out how I like to paint is very transparent, and you probably hear the air compressor going off right now. Apologies for that, but it'll probably stop in a moment. Okay. And that'll kick on and off. It only has like, I think 2 gallons of air on it. I've never minded the sound. I know other artists don't like the sound of compressors. It's never bothered me. So we're just going to establish some black in here. And this is the reason why I mentioned I usually do this beforehand is because it's a value thing. I'm kind of going a little bit backwards on here because I forgot about it earlier. but that's fine. In the end, it's not going to be really noticeable that you kind of do everything backwards. So I'm going to switch out this black, and I'm going to put down a base red color for this. And the sort of paints I'm using, I used to use Golden Flow. Actually, I'll grab a bottle of Golden Flow to show you. I used to use Golden Fluid acrylic within the airbrush. It works. It kind of clogs it here and there. So I've started using these Golden High Flow acrylics, which are designed specifically for the use of airbrush. They don't really need to be thinned or anything like that. You can kind of just use them straight out of the bottle. And because it's golden, it comes in enough of the colors that I use that I can make do and kind of get what I need out of it. And I haven't really run into any real trouble with it. So let's see. So the Snapthal red light, if we look at the color scheme, I'm sure you don't really notice anything strong in that. I'm actually going to try and create some color vibrancy by having this red act as a base for all the purples that are kind of going on in the piece. And that should help kind of add some variety to it that I don't have to work too hard to introduce later. All right, let's add some of this to the airbrush. There we go. And because it's coming from the airbrush, it pretty much dries instantly as soon as it hits the page. Sometimes if you go a little bit heavy, it comes out a little wet. It should normally not be that. It should be relatively dry application once it goes down. Kind of the cool thing about working transparently like this is you get a lot of optical mixing. Instead of having to mix things on the palette and then putting down like the corrected value and tone, everything kind of gets mixed on the canvas, and really your eye does the mixing instead of having to actively mix things on the palette. I do that if I need like a certain color or something like that, but you know, say for instance like I needed to like blue down this red and make it more cool, instead of mixing blue in with the red that I'm spraying down, I could just go back in with red and, or sorry, I can just go back in there with blue, go over the top of that, and it'll kind of tone down everything that's there. And actually I'll probably do that in a moment just to kind of hit some areas on here. Alright, So let's see, we're going to change out this red. Let's see. Do I want to add ultramarine or... I probably want ultramarine. The phthalo blue it's a neat color. It overpowers everything though. It's such a strong color. Like if you get it on your clothes, it's done. They're stained forever. And so the kind of, right now, like, it doesn't look much like anything, but it'll be kind of weird once we take off the mask. You'll kind of see how big of a leap it is. Actually, I'm gonna get my X-Acto knife real quick. Okay. So we are adding, I'm going to go over this lightly with ultramarine blue, and we'll probably replicate the same areas where the black was, kind of have it fan out from the tree. And then we'll go over, and then I'm also have some ultramarine blue kind of go from the top to the bottom of the dress. And then I'll kind of go over both of them with quinacridone magenta. And then that should kind of take care of the base for that. And what I might do is cut out the masks for the figure and pull that up and still have the background going, but then start to apply some different airbrush colors to that, just to kind of establish that as a different thing. And that might also be like a hitting it with naphthol red light, and instead of doing this like blue and quinacridone, we'll kind of go in with some other optical mixing of colors. So I'm going over now with ultramarine blue, and as you can see, it cools down that red a lot, and it's taking on this like really purplish tone. And you can see the tracing paper is buckling and all that. But even though it looks like it is, it's still going to hold down its edges really well. So even though it looks like it might be buckling and I might have like some bleed in from the edges or something like that, if we have it, it's going to be very few and far between, but I don't think we're really going to have it at all, to be honest. Let me add some more ultramarine. as you see, like with that red as the underbase, like everything's kind of taken on this like weird ethereal purple hue. Okay, so now we're going to switch it out with the quinacridone. And quinacridone magenta is kind of like an alizarin crimson. I know that alizarin crimson permanent, I think, is made partly with this. It's a mixture pigment of some kind. You mix like quinacridone magenta and a couple other red pigments to kind of achieve that hue of alizarin crimson. But quinacridone magenta is the base color that's within that mixture. So I kind of just default to using quinacridone magenta because I know it's just that. Sometimes the mixtures can be off between manufacturers, even between manufacturing lines. Like one paint pot could be a little more red or a little more blue or something like that. Versus if you just get it as a pigment, it's just that pigment. You don't really have that issue then. Alright, testing the color. Color looks good. And look at that, you really wouldn't get that if you applied it all opaquely as separate mixtures and everything. So I think before I take off the mask partially, I'm going to apply some dioxazine purple to that background. That is something I am going to have to mix using the fluid acrylics. Let's see. Where are you? My headphones just came undone because my painting caddy is too far away from my computer. So I'm going to mute this real quick while I look for this dioxazine purple. Okay, found it. This is an interesting color. It's basically black, but as a purple. So I'm going to kind of add it to this top bit here and create a vignetting thing. On my color thumbnail, I have most of that background as a very dark purple. So we might have some of that. I'm going to try and mitigate it here and there. So what I'm doing to mix it is that paint, a little bit of water, and then mostly this airbrush medium by Golden. That'll kind of thin it out enough to be able to go on there. Okay, let's get the cap for this. So I don't get paint everywhere. All right. Yeah, look at that. And the airbrush I'm using is it's an Iwata HPCS. It's a gravity feed double action. I've never used any other one. This one I actually got real cheap from a coworker that was no longer going to use an airbrush. I think he was using it for models, and I kind of bought it for that original intent. And then I started to quickly use it for illustration work. Now, I mixed this in the pot for expediency. I probably should have just mixed it in a paint cup first before pouring it into the airbrush. Definitely having some flow issues, it seems. And it is not liking the paint a whole lot. I'm sure you've noticed that there's various speckles and that kind of thing coming out of the airbrush. That's fine. I'm not looking to have a smooth transition on this stuff, especially because it'll get covered with scumbling and colored pencils later. So I think that's a good base. I'll kind of go back over it when I start painting to apply some other colors and stuff to it. For now, let's get this airbrush cleaned out. Okay. So the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to take off the... Oh, I need to add a X-Acto knife to this. 1 second. I'm going to pause. I'm going to mute myself for a moment while I get a blade. Okay. Found a blade. And what we're going to do is we're going to leave the face, the arms, and the staff intact. What I'm going to take out is the her cloak, so we can spray some naphthol red into there. Let's see. And I'm still trying to get used to doing this here and there, but you don't have to, because it's tracing paper, you don't have to go hard to get it off the page. You do just have to kind of learn the finessing, because you can kind of see up close. You can see some gouge marks from when I was cutting out the mask earlier. I didn't need to go that deep, and I was using a dull blade. I should have known better, to be honest. Oh, and that was kind of my fear, was there'd be this transition thing right here for how much that for not having to go all the way down to there. Yeah, that's my fault. I should have known better. It's something to keep in mind if I need to apply another mask to this. The way I tend to do masks is I'll apply one and then take it down. Start by taking down what I initially want, and then I'll start to cut away from that and use it as I see fit. So like in this case, it's time to start taking out the all those things for the cove. I can kind of feel it is a little tacky where it was. It's like not quite like I feel it with my hairs on my arm, but not on my fingertips. Very strange. And I'm not being precious with the mask. It'll eventually, all that kind of thing will be covered up with paint and all that, so I'm not too worried about getting the mask exactly right. Okay, I think we can start lifting up. And you can see parts of it tear as it comes up and stuff. That's fine. At least for myself, I'm not one to. Oh, that's bad. I'm not one to put down the mask again. So kind of like once it's up, it's up. You can see though just how much paint has been changed by taking that mask off. Try and get those little guys. These tiny ones are really hard to get. There it goes. You know, like if you kind of looked at the beginning, I mean, you guys came in once I had the mask already on here, so you couldn't quite see what it looked like without the mask, but you saw the unmasked parts, you saw what kind of value they had. So it was a similar sort of thing under here. And now we're able to go in and start applying this a more red color to it and have it kind of stand out. And this is what I meant earlier when I said I should have taken off I should have tacked it a few more times before applying it, just because of this, where it's giving me a lot of guff to try and come up. It's just a little too tacky for my tastes. And you can kind of see how effective the tracing paper is. You're going to really see it once this comes off, because this one is supposed to be more of a white compared to the rest of it. And I think you're going to be very impressed with that ability for the airbrush to basically block out all of this. I'm trying to get this without damaging the surface, but it really doesn't want to come up. Ooh, no, I'm taking up the... Oh. Is that... Oh, you know what? I think I'm taking up more than a mask. I think I'm taking up the illustration board. Yeah. I was taking up some of the illustration board. My bad on that. Alright, we'll go back up here where I do know there is a mask. Okay. So we're going to add some more naphthol red to this. Turn down the flow a little bit, just to... adjust it just to make it a little bit easier for everyone to see. Okay. And it's fine if there's some overspray, kind of adds to the atmospheric quality to it. At least I feel like it does. All right. Let's take off the rest of this mask because I don't want to leave it on there for another day, to be honest. And we'll see what it looks like in all its glory. And then we can call it a night. So, what should we take off first? Here, let's take off these easy ones first. Okay. As you can see, we still have a lot to do as a result. And the masks made it seem like we covered most of the painting, but truthfully, we've only covered about half of it. Yeah, look at that. Look at that. Actually, I'm going to get a pair of tweezers. 1 second. Okay. Just figured this might not be as abrasive as the X-Acto knife, but it would still give me some control in getting that stuff off. Let's get these guys off, and then the face. And then we'll get that big tree. And when removing masks like this, like the paint sometimes makes it stick a little bit more than it needs to. That combined with the spray tack adhesive makes some of these tricky to remove. It's neat though, isn't it? It's like magic. If you're a Photoshop user, I guess the closest equivalent of this is either the lasso tool or clipping masks. Even though clipping masks, you don't see the masks that you're applying. Alright, so let's get this tree. And for this tree, what I would like it to eventually be is white, but it can't just be flat white. I'd like it to have this like glowing effect, so what I think I'll actually be doing is applying a very, very light, kind of like a tone similar to that, like a very light coat of light purple on it to kind of establish that. And then we'll slowly work it up using scumbling and all that to achieve the white effect, and hopefully that'll help it glow. What I will probably need to do thinking out loud, I need to tackle this parts of the background next, and then the tree, and then I can kind of go through to the figure and start to hit that up as I see fit. just got to get this one last little one. There we go. So now the mask is all removed. That doesn't mean that airbrush won't be a factor anymore. It still will kind of come into play here and there, just to kind of help things settle and bleed together. What I'll be going kind of from here on out, though, for a little bit is using the brush and starting to apply things down before I come back in with the airbrush. So what I'll probably do next is apply the color, the base color for this background. Maybe use the airbrush to kind of bleed the edges between this and this background, just to have that going. And then kind of do the same for this tree as well, just to get this up, and also just to kind of help reestablish some of the values that I want. And then from there, we can tackle and add some basic colors to this figure. And then we can kind of go back in with some scumbling and some colored pencil. And yeah, it'll slowly come together. But that's it for tonight. So thank you for watching, and hopefully I'll have another one of this, or we'll have something else next time, since I kind of want to just get this one out of the way. I don't think I'll be doing all of it on a video, but yeah, thank you for watching.